I was losing over 500 watts a day, and I didn't even realize it. And what made it worse is I thought everything was turned off. I didn't think I was using any power at all. But the real issue was sitting right here the whole time. In off-grid setups like mine, you get used to really keeping a close eye on your power. It becomes part of your routine. Checking batteries, checking solar, just keeping an eye on everything. But when I first started off-grid, I started noticing something a little bit weird. Hello, precious. Some days the battery would be lower than I expected, even when I didn't feel like I had used that much power. And that got me thinking, where's the power actually going here? Hey, buddy. What a nice day today. Being very fashionable today with my pants tucked into my socks. It is tick season. I've just been picking them off Kaya like crazy. I used to think power only really disappeared when something big was running, like heaters, kettles, power tools, that kind of thing. But that's not really how it works, because the inverter itself, it uses power just to stay on, even when nothing is plugged into it. And depending on the inverter, that idle draw can actually add up over time. A regular pure sine wave inverter is typically around 15 to 24 watts of idle draw. And over a full day, that can add up to about 576 watt hours. If you're using a 100 amp battery, this one's 150 amps, that's an awful lot of power over 24 hours. Now, the Pro Series version changes that a bit. It's still around 15 to 20 watts in normal idle, but it also has this EcoSleep mode where it can drop below 10 watts when nothing is really happening. And that brings the daily usage down significantly depending on how much it's sitting idle. So that's literally half the power just sitting idle and only about a quarter tank of a 100 amp battery. And the best part about this is that you don't have to do anything. It's happening on its own. With this thing, if you want to save power, you literally have to turn it off. With this, it automatically drops into that EcoSleep mode and saves you power over the long run. Ugh. Imagine having a light bulb on for 24 hours a day. Maybe it's in your basement at home, and you don't think about it, and it's really not, consuming that much power. But over the long term, if you calculate that power over a weekly, monthly, annual use, that's actually a significant amount of power that it's using. And that's exactly what's happening with your inverter. So this basically chips in, it does a little bit of extra work for you and says, yeah, when I don't see a lot of power being consumed, I'm going to drop myself down to this nice resting mode, and that's all we're going to consume. And we're just going to sip away and not guzzle, because guzzling is never a good idea. So this is the Renogy 2000 watt Pure Sine Wave Pro Series inverter. For context, pure sine wave just means that it produces clean, stable power that's safe for electronics like laptops, chargers, CPAP machines, and most electronic gear you might have inside your cabin. But the real difference compared to a standard inverter is what happens when there's no load. Now, let's be clear here. This is not actually sleeping. It's not going entirely to zero. It's still going to be consuming power, but not like a regular power inverter. It also has Bluetooth monitoring, so you can actually see what the system is doing in real time instead of guessing. Another reason why you might be looking at this is it also has this pretty cool UPS feature, which basically helps the system switch between power sources automatically in certain setups. I'm not going to overcomplicate this part. If you're interested in that type of thing, there are other videos with smarter people explaining this. So I've got the inverter hooked up to a 12-volt battery. Just to go over the basics here, negative to negative, positive to positive. You do want to use a fuse with this. This is a 2000 watt inverter. With any inverter, be safe, use a fuse. With a 2000 watt inverter, you want to step up a little bit. 250 amps, you'll be safe. But I'm not going to be running anything over 1000 watts here. I'm just going to plug in the CPAP machine. And the CPAP machine is one of my most important tools up here, of course. And there we go, we got some power, so I'll be able to sleep tonight. Oops. All right, let's be honest with each other. There's nothing more boring than an inverter. Let's plug this thing in, enjoy some cabin time, and see how this thing works. Tonight's menu, we got some nice caramelized onions and mushrooms, a little bit of garlic in there. Some nice summer fresh bean medley salad. These are a bit of a rip-off, but it's a lot easier than making it on your own. And some insanely expensive, but very delicious, classic cheddar wieners. Garlic toast, avocado, a wiener, some beans. You've had your dinner, buddy.
Hey, let's go raid Joe's beehives again. Ouch, ouch.
You okay? What happened? What's wrong? What's the matter? What did you
Here's
do?
something terribly wrong with this fence.
You took it the fence.
Brian, don't touch the fence.
Don't touch the fence.
Hey, don't push me. Oh, ouch, ouch, the fence hurts.
Bad fence. Bad fence. Don't touch the fence.
Pussies, pussies, pussies.
Over the weekend, the Renogy Pro Series inverter did what it was supposed to do, sipped away quietly when there was no power load, and let me enjoy spending a little bit more time at the cabin stress-free. When you build off-grid systems, you tend to focus on the big numbers, battery size, solar wattage, inverter size. But over time, you come to realize something, and that's small constant losses matter just as much as the big upgrades. And I didn't expect an inverter to be where that showed up so clearly. So for me, the takeaway here is pretty clear. The Pro Series gives you more control over what's happening when you're not using power. And sometimes the best upgrade that you can do is not buying more power, adding more gear to your system, but wasting less of the power that you're already using. Let me know what you're using. I'm always curious about other people and learning from you as well. If you found this helpful, like and subscribe. It does help the channel, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Happy upgrading, guys.